kind of a cost-cutting move to the Pistons. Sadiq Bey went to the Hawks. Pat Beverly to the Magic. Sorry, not going to be teaming up with D'Angelo Russell again, who went to the Lakers. Mo Bamba ends up going to L.A. Reggie Jackson back to the Clippers for Mason Plumlee. Always a Plumlee getting moved at the deadline. That is an automatic. Eric Gordon back to the Clippers. John Wall back to the Rockets. He must be miserable. Danny Green went with him. Luke Kennard to the Grizzlies. Bones Highland in a curious move to the Clippers. George Hill back to the Pacers with Serge Ibaka. Thomas Bryant to the Nuggets. List goes on from there. That is not everything. But again, as you talked about, Gary, and mostly kind of role guys. So I guess when we present it that way, does anything in the big picture of NBA championship odds or top teams in true contention in each individual conference, does much change for you?
I mean, I think if you look at some of the like secondary teams, and we've got the odds up, or the odds up for the championship on DraftKings Sportsbook in front of us right now. I look at a team like the Nuggets being 8-1, the Clippers being 9-1, the Grizzlies being 14-1, the Warriors 15-1, Mavericks 16-1. I mean, some of those secondary favorites, now that the Suns have clearly established themselves as the class of the West, it makes it a little harder to kind of dive in on a team like Denver, who had been very, very apt when they were paying like 15-1, 16-1 earlier in the year. The Clippers at least had a total overhaul, which I think they kind of needed to just sort of clean their bench out, really get some role definition in there. It was one of those weird situations where we came into the year thinking, man, what a blessing to have 12 rotation players. But at a certain point, you got to have like 8 or 9 guys you trust and who know they're going to play every single night. And obviously, with Kawhi and Paul George not always being available, having some extra depth is not a terrible idea as a franchise. But I still do question whether or not they got that true point guard they really wanted. I like Bones Highland. I think in a vacuum, he's a very useful player, can create his own shot. He's a tough shot maker, someone who shoots very well from beyond the arc. However, is Bones Highland really that different a player than like a Reggie Jackson or a John Wall? Not especially, and he's definitely not someone who is going to set up your offense in the half court. Like, he's pretty much just a shooter. So it's still going to be a team that relies upon some of these point forwards they have to really set up their entire offense. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, look, it's a bet I'm not like thrilled to make. But I will say, in terms of just like looking at the odds and kind of how the dynamics of the Western Conference have changed, the Lakers at 50-1, I really like what they did. I think they've dug themselves too deep a hole to like get home court advantage in the first round or anything like that. But I think with what they did today, they positioned themselves to be a top 6 team. And you know, we said this last year a bunch, and obviously it blew up in everyone's face who decided to believe even a little bit. But at a certain point, if you're going to the playoffs and you have to face LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and now you've actually got to cast around them guys like D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley who can actually shoot the basketball. I don't know, like 50-1 seems like a lot for a LeBron team. I just feel like that's, at this point in the season, that's a big number for a LeBron team. So maybe take a chance.
So we can, obviously we can go on and on talking about NBA futures and that type of thing. And as you can see, if you're looking at your screen, Jeff Ulrich will be joining us momentarily as well to talk golf. But I know he kind of wants to sit out the NBA portion of this a little bit. So, Gary, we can't move on from basketball until we at least touch on tonight, because with all of these moves, it just opens up such a crazy night, be it in betting on the DraftKings Sportsbook, certainly in the world of DFS. And I can pull up some of the player cards and guys who are projected to play, big minutes and big opportunities tonight. You and I were talking about it before the show started, and there's going to be a ton of value, in particular in the Milwaukee LA Lakers game, a ton of value and very high ownership as well. But it's also the kind of night that with studs like Giannis and Jokic and Davis, Trae Young, DeAndre Ayton, Vucevic, Paul, Nick Claxton, he's not a stud per se, but a guy who's in a really good spot. But those top handful that I mentioned in particular, it's the kind of night, because of all the value, you can fit three studs in one lineup and feel good about it. So what's your approach to building tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it might be a matter of trying to differentiate yourself. Whether it be the guys towards the bottom of Phoenix's rotation, who, right now beyond Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton, you start running out of guys you recognize as a casual NBA fan very quickly. I mean, this is going to be a night where you see a lot of people looking at, a Damian Lee. He's going to be incredibly popular. I think Josh Okogie, at the bare minimum, incredibly popular. I could even see a guy like Ish Wainwright being pretty popular, considering like Dario Saric was going to be a popular play this morning, and then he got traded to the Thunder. So I just think you can really pick and choose a lot of these guys at 3K. For the Suns, same goes with the Lakers. I mean, again, just no James, no Westbrook. None of these guys who have come in are playing tonight. So you're looking at a situation where, Lonnie Walker might be playing a ton. Troy Brown Jr. might be playing a ton. Tough spot for Austin Reeves just because he's coming back from injury. I don't think he's been cleared to play more than probably 15 minutes, so I would steer clear of that. But Dennis Schroeder is going to be a ridiculously owned value play. So maybe the tact is, Anthony Davis is going to be popular just because LeBron's not playing. And that's the move you tend to make in these spots when it's easy peasy. No LeBron, that means I'm playing AD. But there's a real chance this game just gets ridiculously out of hand. I mean, Milwaukee's got their full assortment of weapons tonight. I could see Milwaukee being up 20, 25 points in the third quarter of this game, and the Lakers kind of just folding and going, hey, we've got reinforcements coming. We don't need to win this game. LeBron's basically resting anyway. We're kind of giving this one away as it is. So I would maybe worry about his minutes load a little bit, and same with Giannis, just if that game does get out of hand. So I might gravitate more towards Nikola Jokic. Even Nikola Vucevic, you mentioned him when kind of going through your high-priced studs list. Mm-hmm. I mean, we got a situation in that game where if DeMar DeRozan doesn't play, he missed their last game for the Bulls. I could see Vucevic being a usage monster in this contest, and he is someone who can rack up rebounds as well. So maybe because we know where the value is, and obviously you can kind of experiment with the 5 or 7 guys who are the obvious value plays, I would maybe look to change up some of the obvious studs that everyone seems to be using.
All right, we've got, 15 to 20 minutes left in the show, and as you can see, Jeff is here with us, so making him sit there silently just doesn't feel right. Moose, welcome in, buddy. I saw that you were out there earlier today. For anyone that doesn't know, you haven't been with us throughout this week. He has been in Arizona, continues to be. He's been on the set at Radio Row with our crew out there at the Super Bowl. He's been visiting along at the Waste Management Open, which got underway today, and we'll tell you a little bit about that. Still plenty of golfers on the course. Many even just teed off not too long ago, so there's a whole lot of round one left. But I saw you were out there on social media taking video of wind earlier today. So how's it going in Scottsdale, buddy?
Yeah, dude. Woke up and there was 20 miles per hour wind that wasn't forecast, so that was interesting. And it's cold. Tough scoring out there today for sure for the golf. I think the PM guys are gonna have it's warmer out now, so I mean, PM guys going to definitely have. I mean, it's too late to make any choices. I mean, this is information if you didn't already have it, then that's why I threw up the win, because I mean, I was like, if you're an AM guys, you may want to make some switches or back some unders here. But definitely the conditions weren't ideal. It's cold here in the morning, so if you're playing Showdown tomorrow, would definitely lean towards the PM guys. Again, we did have a delayed tee start too. That's the other thing. So I don't like this round may not finish. We're running out of daylight here. This is all going to get pushed back. And then again, who knows where these guys end up starting tomorrow. So a little bit of weirdness going on, but it's definitely not ideal conditions. It's going to be tough for scoring. So a little bit of grind fest shaping up.
To your point, by the way, massively delayed. And you'd have to tell me exactly how much was a day of delay, because I know that when lineups were first posted on DraftKings, the original lock time was set for something like 8 a.m. Eastern. And by the time the tournament actually began today, it was, I think, 10:45 Eastern time. I'm sitting there, looking for, why hasn't this thing teed off? Where are these contests? Oh, they're still in my upcoming, because lock keeps getting pushed back. How much of that was the weather?
I think I didn't actually check why the exact delay was, but I'm pretty sure it was wind related. I mean, it was really windy here this morning, so I would have ventured to guess they just were waiting, and it was really cold as well. So, I think it was just waiting an hour for it to warm up a little bit. Maybe the wind died down. I don't think the wind really did die down, but I'm pretty sure it was. I think it was delayed an hour and a half. So yeah, it's going to affect, like, they're not going to finish today. I don't think there's any chance.
So
Actually, there's no chance. Zero chance.
So right now, looking at performers at this moment, so you have Nick Taylor, Adam Hadwin, Xander Schauffele, Charlie Hoffman. They're all in the clubhouse and at the top of the leaderboard. Taylor and Hadwin in particular are tied for the lead at 5 under, but may not last long. Keegan Bradley's only through 4 holes and he's already 3 under. So he's obviously, coming for first in a hurry very early on. Adam Schenk and Bo Hostler also doing well in the front 9 still of their opening rounds. What have you thought? What are your big takeaways from round 1 as it's existed to this point?
I mean, it's hard to have like huge takeaways after one round, but it is interesting. Like, a lot of the same names we saw play well at Torrey Pines, playing well here. Sung J M got back to under par. So did Tony Finau. Those are 2 guys for the Masters you really need to keep your eye on. They're playing extremely good golf. They're good on long courses. And just the fact they just keep, like, it looked like they were both out of it early and now they're back in it. That's the kind of golf, like, where they're just really confident in their game. Xander Schauffele's up there too. I don't know. This guy's back injury seems to just maybe be like fake news at this point. He's shooting 4 under in these conditions. That's pretty impressive. So, you don't want to take too much away. I'm not going to like handicap a guy going forward too much if he had a bad round necessarily, but it is impressive to see a couple names like that still playing well despite the conditions. That speaks well to them going into the first major. But other than that, I expect the scoring to be a little bit better this afternoon. It's not going to be crazy good, but it should be better. It's still windy here, but it's way warmer.
How close are you to where Waste Management's taking place?
About 40 minutes. So I'm a little bit more north. It's probably a little bit cooler where I am, but it's not, it's still Phoenix area. So
yeah, for sure. And I know you're heading there Sunday. We talked about that obviously yesterday. Gary, and how you've been obviously certainly like me, been close eye on the NBA today, but how closely have you been watching things as it's related to Waste Management?
Not especially close. I will just say, working a shift today at DraftKings during NBA trade deadline was a lot of my focus.
All encompassing.
Just kind of one of those days. A lot of moving parts with all that kind of stuff.
It's D-Day on the DK Live app, isn't it? The NBA trade deadline. I mean, that's like,
it's a bad one. I would say that one and football free agency, like the first day of football free agency, are generally the two of the worst days we have on the calendar. But no, I did say, like, as I am often want to do, I will trail the golf picks of one Patrick Mayo. Sure. Unfortunately, not looking great so far. I did not wake up early enough or was not paying attention to Jeff's tweet this morning about the wind. Unfortunately, Colin Morikawa and Hideki Matsuyama happened to tee off early. Mm-hmm. Seems like maybe they got affected by the conditions a little bit. So my waste management experience has not been great so far. But I am happy to know that Jeff will be there and possibly throwing things onto the 16th green on Sunday. That's fun.
Absolutely.
To the point of what Gary was just, alluding to, and obviously you talked about it some, Jeff, with the weather, how much do you think if you're like making lineups or placing bets or whatever you're doing, I guess I'm more thinking about lineups, but in the spirit of hedging, right? Like front 9 for the early guys, it didn't go so well because of the conditions. And so now they're in a position where they need to try and rebound in future days. Or do you just kind of start a clean slate for yourself, place a new bet tomorrow or make a new lineup for showdown tomorrow and just kind of, it's too early to say like, cut your losses because anything can change when you still have 3 rounds to go. But sort of that mentality of like, all right, like that's kind of an uncomfortable hole.
I mean, look, you can certainly reinvest. I think if you're going to reinvest, you need to take note of what's happening with the weather. It's a very good idea to check the forecast for tomorrow morning because the afternoon players, better conditions here. They could get lower scores going. And then they also may have more benign conditions to go out in tomorrow morning. So the morning players today really look like they got the short stick. And when that happens, it's almost like Open Championship conditions where you get a big gap in scoring. All the PM guys get a couple strokes ahead, and it's really hard to make up, especially in an elite field like this. So, you're looking at guys like Hovland, Homa. We mentioned Keegan Bradley going out strong, but there's other players in this wave like Justin Thomas, Theegala, even Jason Day. See where these guys are in the odds. And if they're kind of like, maybe just looking a little bit down, that's where I would look We could get a big advantage. And on the other hand, I mean, you may get guys way back who are going out in the afternoon tomorrow in easy conditions too. Sanjay M and Finau are good examples. They shot under par today. If the lead doesn't get too out of hand, I mean, they may not be that far back. They may be at a little bit better odds as well. So a couple of ways to play it, but definitely looking like it's shaping up like a bit of an open championship draw right now with a bit of a wave advantage.
I mentioned there are a lot of guys right now that because obviously many hit the course not too long ago. Some guys are only a hole in, others, 4, 5, 6 holes in. Who do you have your eye on this afternoon?
I mean, this afternoon, like I said, I mean, like Homa's just is up there. Hovland started well, but it's a little bit early in the round. I mean, some of these guys haven't even teed off. Homa to me is a player who just is still like a little bit underrated in Masters futures as well, and really all the majors. If he wins again here, you're going to see another drop in price. I mean, last I looked, he was still available at 50 to 1 in some of these majors. So Homa's a guy to keep an eye on for that. But Jason Day is another guy. I mean, hasn't played here much, but has been in really good form most of the year. I think people are expecting comeback win at some point. He plays well. I mean, that might be a good player to jump on in the odds. Certainly will be available at better prices than a lot of the top players. So,
is there any good value to jump on right now for this tournament?
I mean, you can jump on whoever you want right now. I mean, I don't, the live odds it's a little, again, like some of the field haven't even teed off. So I don't know. I mean, if you're looking for like live players to get on, I mean, Justin Thomas started out with some pars. It's tough. I mean, I would just wait till the round is finished, quite frankly, rather than trying to nail guys in play. Like I said, Day is maybe one that sticks out. He's 1 under par. He's going to be playing in some easier conditions going forward. So that's something. But like guys like Sanjay and Finau who are finished, you're going to have to wait and see. And like, because their odds will probably get higher as the day goes on. So sure. I wouldn't be, running to the computer to jump on anyone. Day kind of is interesting. But other than that, probably better to wait till the end of the round.
So this is a generic question. I realize that, but what do you find most interesting right now about this tournament? Either what you're seeing right in this moment, round one, or just looking ahead to the next 3 days?
I mean, just that this is going to be potentially have a lot of variance with it because of the wind. I mean, the wind, like I said, has created wave splits. You've got guys who have gone out and shot well in the wind. Charlie Hoffman, we haven't seen play well in forever. 2 Canadians and Taylor and Hadwin, who are now in good position, potentially playing in softer conditions tomorrow. So I think it's going to be an event with, again, you're going to see some weird names up there, like potentially Sam Ryder up there, Nick Taylor, who's actually like proven himself to be a very good wind player. So I think it's going to be a weirder mix. I think you're going to get a couple names you just didn't expect mixed in with, obviously some just what you call just regular elite type of players. So I think it's thrown a little bit of a curveball so far, just in terms of how this event usually plays. Usually we see a winner get to like 18, 19 under par. And you could see, 14, 15 potentially win this year.
We spent a lot of time, Jeff, on yesterday's show talking about Super Bowl props, and maybe we'll mix in a couple before we get out of here within the next 10 minutes. But does that ever interest you in the world of golf? Are you looking at matchups and hole props and tournament props and that type of thing? Or are you just more of a, finishing position and overall winner and that type of thing?
Hole props are, I mean, unless you're out there in the course and you have some kind of edge of how the hole is going to play, or you just think a player is maybe just really about to self-destruct, those are always a little bit tough. Got to be paying really good attention. I mean, in terms of matchups, though, yeah, I mean, we can certainly like dive, you could dive into as many matchups as possible. I mean, just looking on the board for tomorrow, I like Keith Mitchell versus Taylor Montgomery. I mean, Keith Mitchell is certainly someone I have a little bit of interest in. Over that, Montgomery did not play well today. I think he's a player who's just been a little bit overrated. Tougher conditions, I don't think favor him at all either. So that is a matchup I definitely would take the -120 on. Looking down a little bit further here, I mean, getting +130 on Finau over Schauffele is pretty interesting. I don't think that Finau should be +130 against many golfers right now. Schauffele played well to start, but I mean, if you're gonna like that, to me should be. He should be +110, +100 max. So there's definitely a bit of an edge there as well. And then, those are two of the ones that just stick out on first glance for tomorrow. Definitely don't mind either of those bets.
In the spirit of edges to be found, let's move over to the Super Bowl and back to you, Gary. And much like Jeff earlier when he came in, I feel bad. You're just sitting there, buddy. So let's talk about something we can all chime in on here.
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to start asking me about live prop betting in the golf tournament, but I mean, hey, we could
throw you the occasional curveball. But like I said, in the spirit of looking for edges, how much of this, and I feel like I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How much of this is just the waiting game? Like, not much is going to change versus what's happened over the last week and a half. You know, we'll maybe get clued into another injury or two guys who are questionable in the next couple of days. But is there anything that you're waiting on in terms of making a bet, Gary, and in terms of information that you don't have already, or did you kind of need to already place your bets at this point?
Well, you know, I'm talking to my team managers I've got on the inside about what color Gatorade they're stocking on the sidelines. But until I get that information, you know, like you said, it's an interesting Super Bowl in the sense that it doesn't feel like there's a lot of withstanding information that we don't have. I mean, you can make the case that we are still up in the air about whether or not we're going to have a like fully operational Chiefs receiving core. But at the same time, like, even tomorrow, when we get the actual game designations, I would be shocked if Kadarius Toney wasn't questionable, which again doesn't really give us any actual information. It just kind of confirms what we've been thinking for the longest time. Juju, I could see maybe not even having a designation or coming in as probable, but again, I think that's how that's been trending all week anyway. I know Adam Levitan also mentioned today he's great at finding these like contractual bonus stuff. If Juju plays at least 50% of the snaps in the Super Bowl, and also if the Chiefs win a Super Bowl, I think like $1 million of incentives kick in his contract. So he's got a lot of reasons to want to play in this game. Let's just say that. So I think we're pretty sure Juju's going to play. So, you know, in terms of what you can use that information to start looking at, like I think we talked about this a little bit on Tuesday with Glash and when LaMarco was here. I think Tony's receiving yards prop is relatively low. You know, this is someone who obviously you can't trust to play more than 20, 25 snaps. And even that seems like a lot for him throughout his NFL career. However, the usage at which he has been targeted per snap and per route since being traded to the Chiefs is astronomical. And I think he was hovering around 22 yards. I wonder if we're still kind of in that area.
27, is that right now?
It was up to 27 and a half now.
Yep.
So it was under 25 for a long time. The market's clearly adjusting a little bit, but even a number that low, like, you know, Tony's not a guy with a big ADOT. He's more of a yak receiver, but he's a great yak receiver. And again, if he's going to see 4 to 5 targets, even if he's only running 20 routes, that's a relatively low number. But really, aside from that, like the Eagles have had one of the cleanest injury reports for the season. It's like them and the Vikings. They've been very, very, very healthy this season, aside from losing Jalen Hurts for a couple games. So we're really not waiting for any new information on the Eagles side. It's kind of just Kadarius Toney.
We've got a couple minutes to work with here, and since I'm not going to be on the show tomorrow, and Gary, and you're not either, Moose, I believe you are, but nevertheless, let's talk a little bit about these novelty props, because honestly, it's just the stuff that everybody's into with the Super Bowl. It's the common man prop, if you will. Whether it's the coin toss result, obviously, you know, which team is going to win it, and jersey numbers, first touchdown, the octopus, which is the only time we ever talk about it, is for this game every year. MVP specials, on and on and on. You mentioned the Gatorade and all of that stuff. Do you have a favorite Moose novelty prop going into this game?
I mean, in terms of like betting on Gatorade and coin flips, no, I mean, I'm not going to do that. I will give out some first touchdown props. I mean, Miles Sanders first touchdown. I think, again, like there's so many markets to look at here. Like, why would you bet on a coin flip when you can like pick out first touchdown props at big odds, when you can bet on, you know, you can get like, you know, like Jalen Hurts to throw like 0 touchdown passes, things like that at good odds. So I like looking at first touchdown markets. I think, you know, again, you've got an Eagles team, first and offensive rush DVOA. What are they going to try and do early in the game? If they get the ball, they're going to try and just, I mean, establish it. They're going to try and break the will as early as possible of this Chiefs rush defense, which, by the way, had the easiest schedule in terms of offensive rush DVOA this season. They're very ripe to be taken advantage of, I think. And I think Sanders is going to get the ball early if he gets inside. 10 of his 11 touchdowns this year came inside the red zone. I think that's a good number for Miles Sanders. And on the other side, I think that the Chiefs are more ripe for like a trick play or something down there in the red zone if they get the ball first. Noah Gray, last time I looked, he was around plus 4,000 for first touchdown scorer. The Chiefs are the team you want to take the shot with. If the Eagles get down there, they're running the ball. It's Hurts or Sanders. Maybe you get like a Goddard or something like that. But like, I think that if you're looking longer odds, you need to go, the Chiefs side. And they do have places. Fortson get in there as well. Andy Reid is obviously, likes these kind of plays too. So I think the first touchdown market, that's where you should be looking. You get those longer odds. You don't have to invest too much. And like I said, Sanders and Gray, two guys popping up for me.
Gary, and I thought Jeff was going to weigh in on whether or not a kick was going to hit the post and the odds on that, but he didn't. So what about you?
Yeah, not your traditional like novelty prop, but one that I think is kind of fun because we get a lot of markets we don't normally get in the Super Bowl. One bet that I really like is accumulated score yardage for the Eagles. So basically 101.5 yards of field goals and touchdowns that they will accumulate over the course of this game. And basically the thinking here is, the boring half of this bet is we're obviously in a climate controlled stadium. Jake Elliott, 5 of 6, past 50 yards this season. I think if he gets the opportunity to kick a 50-yard field goal, he could do half this damage in a single kick. But the other thing to think about is the Eagles, one of the biggest play offenses in football this year. The only team in football to rank inside the top 5 in explosive rushing plays and explosive passing plays. Jalen Hurts, more than half of his touchdown passes this season were over 20 yards. 10 of his 22 were over 29 yards. So when the Eagles score touchdowns, especially through the air, they tend to be really big plays. And just kind of a fun one to track, not something you normally think about when you bet, but I just think, again, and Jeff laid it out perfectly, the susceptibility of this Chiefs offense, I think the Eagles can maybe exploit that. And it wouldn't shock me if like Miles Sanders or Boston Scott ripped off a 70-yard touchdown or something like that. Like I think that's in the cards as well.
Absolutely, man.
You love yourself, Kenneth Gainwell. You're so excited about him in this game.
Kenny Gaines?
All he does is gain yards, right?
A great running back name. It's the Tim Duncan of running back names.
All right. Well, I think we need to go because Madden Sims, I believe, are coming your way in just a matter of minutes, 3 minutes, even less than that, here on the DraftKings YouTube and Twitch channels, not Twitter, but
Did you hear the Madden score for the Super Bowl, Kaufman? Did you hear it?
Say it again?
Do you know what it is?
No, I did. For the Madden simulation score?
31-17 Eagles, Madden has predicted. And I'll tell you something, my showdown article on DK Nation, I predicted 31-21. So the Sim and I, as per usual, in perfect lockstep here, predicting 2-score win for the Eagles.
You know what? I like that because it's an Eagles win, which, as we know, I am in favor of. It's it hits the over, which I also like. So yeah, I'm good with that. Let's do it. Let's do it. Works for me. And also Edlo, I don't want people to think that Felix just blew us off. He did text and apologize that he was not going to make it on the show. Turns out he got a new work computer that he hasn't taken out of the box yet. So yeah, he's this emoji right now.
First world problems,
Must be nice to just not get a new work computer, not have to actually use it. I mean,
all I want's a DraftKings shirt. I don't even need a computer.
Yeah, well, you got that hat. I mean, don't get.
I'd buy the hat.
Don't get greedy.
Okay.
Thanks to Eamon, Undercover Boss Tom. I'm Kaufman, Gary, and Ulrich here. You will hear from Jeff again on both the Sweat and the Slate, and out at Waste Management, he will be there. So really embrace all things DraftKings programming over the course of the next few days. It's Super Bowl week. It's golf week. We got a lot going on. Stay with us. We appreciate it. Again, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all of it. Thank you very much. Boys, enjoy the rest of the week and enjoy the Super Bowl.
You too, man.